Hello, I'm with Lou Macari from Shorty News TV. How are you, Lou?
I'm okay, thank you.
Congratulations on being part of the BAFTA.
Thanks, good week it was.
Good week.
It's all about winning, isn't it?
Plenty celebrations.
No point in going there and finishing second.
Absolutely.
It's fantastic.
So to get started, I suppose we might touch on a bit this season. It's been a bit topsy-turvy, up and down. But we have the Champions League football next season. What's the aim for next year?
Well, the aim obviously is to improve the team. I think everyone, and I mean everyone connected with the club, will be kicking themselves a little bit that they didn't get off to a better start and didn't put up a real challenge to win the title, because I really do believe it was there for anybody to win. And you know, Chelsea, who did get off to a good start and were the most consistent, and at the end of the season obviously were the best team. I mean, they weren't fantastic, but you know, had there been anybody else right on the tail, right from the start, right to the very end, it may have been interesting, but unfortunately we weren't capable of doing that.
As opposed to last season, a lot of fans reflect on being a bad season, and a lot of young fans probably haven't witnessed things like that before. You played part of the team that come up in the second division. A lot of Reds that witnessed those days and put that down as one of their best years following United, home and away. United took over towns, the atmosphere was fantastic. What do you say to Reds that kind of, I suppose, are spoiled with success, and now we have this year where we're slowly but surely gaining momentum?
Well, it's difficult to explain to the younger supporter what it used to be like, because it is so different nowadays to back then. And I think one of the main things about back in the 70's and 80's when I played, and the younger supporters probably will find it hard to believe, but Manchester United in terms of spending power were way below even teams like Nottingham Forest, Derby County, and big money was never spent at Manchester United. You know, the ownership, they didn't believe you had to go out and spend millions of pounds. Well, there wasn't millions of pounds to be spent, because the record deal at the time was for Trevor Francis at £1 million, and that's how dramatic things have changed to the modern game, where you know, spending 30-40 million is becoming the normal now. But, you know, to me, who played back then and played with a lot of great players, I find it strange when all these players who do come along cost 30-40 million, and because of that, everyone expects them to go out on that pitch and win games on their own, and of course that can't happen. Football's never been won by individuals, it's never been won by systems, it's never been won by formations, it's been won by teams. And you know, 70's and 80's with teams that went on to win a European Cup. Nottingham Forest, Aston Villa went and won a European Cup. You know, teams like that who went into Europe. Rangers and Celtic in Scotland. Celtic won a European Cup, first team to do it. Rangers won a Cup Winners' Cup up in Scotland, and you know, those days unfortunately have long gone. But they had teams back then that were capable, without spending vast amounts of money, the teams that did go on and win European trophies.
At United, you were a hero, fans, and you were in a dressing room with the likes of Greenhoff brothers, Coppell, and so on. Tell us about the personalities in the dressing room. Who were any messers, any anecdotes?
I've got to say, everybody was a personality. It was all about the team. If you didn't have a good relationship with people in the dressing room, you didn't have a team, simple as that. And so when we went out on the pitch, the main aim was to play as a team, to get results as a team, and there was no sort of, since after George Best went, there was no sort of celebrities in the team. There was nobody that stood out as being any different to the rest of the players, and that togetherness that we saw back then, that seems to have disappeared a little bit with the type of players that come into the game. And of course the interaction with the supporters. You know, after a game here at Old Trafford, if we won a game, we had to win. If we lost, we went straight home. But if we won, we went out and spent a Saturday night out with supporters, and probably went into the early hours of Sunday morning, and then probably all day Sunday celebrating, you know, a win on a Saturday. That's the way it used to be, but unfortunately for the modern day player, he doesn't do that, and he can't do it. There's so much focus on them. It's very difficult for them, and it's very difficult to go out their homes.
I suppose too, another difference when you played and when players today is the likes of always that run blogs, the fanzines, Red News and Red Issue, and Gallery Stand and so on. you have fans giving opinions all the time. If you play bad on the weekend, they'll say it next week, and it was different. There was no fanzine around in the 70s.
No, there wasn't.
Is that a good or bad thing? Is it good getting the fans' opinion, negative and positive, or would you rather not hear anything?
I think if you're a player and you're through a bit of a bad time, you want to hear as very little as possible. Of course, if you're doing well, you welcome all the praise, but it's difficult for them. As you say, everyone's got an opinion now.
You get the good thing. A blog's good. Can they be good?
Well, everyone's opinion can't be right, that's for certain, isn't it? And unfortunately, with the press nowadays, they feed the supporters information. That information, not all the time, but the last percentage of the time is not right, but especially with transfers. You know, I work here at Old Trafford and a bit on the inside, and I can just smell and I get some info about what's possibly going to happen and what's not going to happen. And when I see some of these things that supporters are being told, I cringe. I cringe because I know it's not going to happen. You know, I had a lad the other night on Twitter saying that Harry Kane,
45 million.
Yeah, Harry Kane was coming to Old Trafford, and I forget there's another part to it, and I just poo-pooed it and I said to him, if that happens, he's going to be my guest at
Ronaldo too.
He's going to be my guest at Old Trafford next season, because you know, Harry Kane, 45 million, whatever it is, he's only started his career. He had a bit of a nightmare here against us. We didn't really see anything of him.
Smalling was very good against him.
Smalling was good against him. Since he's sort of come into the limelight, he hasn't been great. Tottenham daren't sell him because their supporters, quite rightly so, would probably boycott buying season tickets. They sold Gareth Bale, which is a massive loss to them, as they found out now. And when you've got a special player, you can't afford to sell him. And then Harry Kane, if they were even crazy enough to consider selling them, well, I'm certain they would lose the majority of the support. So I just completely poo-pooed that. But that started in a newspaper. That started with a rumour that somebody had put on the back page of a daily newspaper, and I really do feel a little bit of sympathy for supporters nowadays who sort of take it all in, believe it, and of course it never happens, and they then become disappointed.
Before we wrap it up, an issue ongoing at the moment, it's always the fanzines and so on, is I suppose when you were playing too, famous Sheffield and stand terrace, great atmosphere bouncing, and the issue today is the introduction, or the hope of the introduction of safe standing. Where do you stand on safe standing?
All I know is if people were standing up, and if people think the atmosphere is good at Old Trafford nowadays, if people were standing up, the atmosphere would be 20 times better. Again, I can't go back to the 70's and 80's and let the younger generation see what it was like. They need to go on Twitter and they need to go on YouTube, but the place was jumping. You know, you won a game, no matter who it was against, the crowd was flags, the crowd was moving from side to side. My first ever game for Celtic as a kid, and well, not when I say as a kid, as a 20-year-old, 21, you know, I'm at Hampden Park, 128,000 people for a Wednesday night replay after there'd been 128,000 people on the Saturday, and the crowd out at Celtic obviously, and we scored and we won the game and I scored a goal, so it was a great cup final for me, and I'll never forget the crowd going from side to side, jam-packed, they could hardly move, and you know,
great to get that back again.
If you could, it would be brilliant. I doubt you'll ever achieve that again because of what's happened in football since then, the disaster. I mean, there's a disaster at Ibrox where I played in the game, and you know, because of a goal scored by Rangers in the last couple of minutes, the crowd who were leaving the ground came back up the steps, and the crowd coming down fell on top of them, and it was an absolute, you know, obviously a disaster, and people lost their lives. So because of that, and because of lots of other incidents that we know about, we don't need to go into that. It's probably a no-no forever. Maybe you may get a section of the ground, but like probably everyone, you'd love to see the whole of the strip for then. standing up, but
Back the way it was.
it's not to be.
Unfortunately not. It's an interview with Alum Macari, Straight News TV. Thanks a million, Lou.
No problem.
Thanks.
Good man. Thank you.
Great speaking to you.